I came across a podcast this week. I cannot remember the name of it. I can tell you it was a panel, three men, three women, and the topic of the show was, is marriage outdated? So I'm going to ask you guys some questions. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is marriage outdated? Is it something that we should still be pushing on our younger generation? Should we still be pushing them to get married? Should men and women have the same friend group?
As a married person, I don't think you should have more single friends than you have married friends.
I agree.
I think primarily your friends should be other married couples that you share interests with.
Or a couple of the people on the panel said that when it comes to friend groups, men need to be able to have their boys, women need to be able to have their girls. And while your partner can join in with the group every now and then, they can't be there all the time. Which kind of brought up the why not? Why can't they be with you all the time? And it was like, well, if you've got a friend who needs to vent, he can't vent in front of your significant other, which I think that makes sense, you know? But they were upset because they were like, why does your partner have to come along with us at all? Well, because I think your partner's your best friend, so you kind of want to hang out with them, right? So, at least, well, but not everybody's that way, I guess. Like you my dude.
Yeah, I'm the 90-10 rule. I think like 90% of the time I want to be hanging out with you. 10% of the time I want to do something I want to do,
Get
but
away
for the
from me.
most part, yeah, you're my thing. You my boo thing.
Hey, is it okay to discuss your sex life with your friends?
No.
Why?
Well, I guess if you do talk about your sex life, you talk about it. No, I still think no. I think one of two things is going to happen. One, you're going to complain about it, or two, you're going to tempt them. I just don't.
I think talking to your friends about your sex life and asking, I don't know, if they tried something or if something is normal or, if you, I don't know, if you should try something different maybe. Obviously, you need to communicate with your spouse. Um, but I think that's why you talk to your friends about sex, about your sex life.
I almost feel like you're better off going to like if you're truly like looking for advice or you're talking about sex, go to the anonymity of the internet and ask the
Go to
question.
Reddit. Don't go to Reddit.
Right, like that way you can be anonymous and find the thing that because if you're asking the question, chances are you're looking for confirmation of the question anyway.
Yeah.
So like, have
Okay.
you tried this thing?
On this panel that I was watching, they gave one of the reasons not to be married because they're in their mid 30s.
Yeah.
They gave one of the reasons not to get married is because they're working on themselves. In that until they're done working on themselves, they should not get married. But I feel like that's an excuse because I think throughout our entire lives, we are working on ourselves. I don't think you're ever going to get to the point where you're perfect and then you're ready to be married. I think it's and I think that that's the other part of marriage is that person building a foundation with you to help you be the person that you want to be. And I'm not talking about financially or whatever. I'm talking about they're the yin to your yang, you know what I'm saying? They're the part that helps you be better.
Yeah. You're never done working on yourself. So if you're waiting for what are you waiting for?
Yeah.
And we talked about men and women both making nonverbal agreements and saying this person needs this of me, even though they've never communicated it. I know what they need from me, and I need to work on
Yeah.
that. There's just it comes back to honest, open communication.
So, what do you do when your partner changes?
If it's something that you're concerned about, you talk to them about it. I mean, if tomorrow I said, "Hey, I'm going to go play poker Tuesday and Thursday nights with the guys at this place you've never heard of," that would be a conversation like, "I'm coming with you," or "How about they come here?" or
Mm-hmm.
"No,
Mm-hmm.
that if you're not, David, stop being stupid." One of those three things.
Yeah.
Probably the last one.
Yeah. Well, look, okay. So I one of my favorite sayings is train someone how to treat you. And I don't mean like you doggy. I mean, like,
That's gonna be a
train,
meme later. Hey, here, puppy, puppy, puppy.
train someone how to treat you. You have to teach people how to treat you the way that you want to be treated, and in turn, they're doing the same thing. They're training you. So if you are, home with the kids all the time, and your spouse comes home from work, or every day they're going out to, the bar, or they're going to play games, or they're going to, whatever, and you're starting to feel lonely, like I'm telling you, you have to communicate with your spouse, because loneliness leads to a dangerous territory.
But there's so many things in a marriage that lead to danger, like resentment. Like, oh, he did this thing, and I'm gonna let it go this time. Don't, because he's gonna think it's okay, and he's gonna do it again.
Because you've trained him how to treat you.
Same for the reverse, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. So what do you do when your partner changes? You have to talk to them. You
absolutely.
have to figure out what's acceptable. Well, okay. You have to figure out what's acceptable, but figuring out what's acceptable also means that you have to learn to compromise. So if your spouse, if you don't want your if you're home 5 days a week and your spouse comes home and they're like, "Hey, I'm going back out." Okay, let's compromise, because you've been at work all the time, you've been at work all day, or whatever. If you're stay at home, or you're both working, or whatever, okay, let's compromise. You come home, on Mondays we're both home, Wednesdays and Fridays we're both home with the kids. But take Tuesday and go do what you want to do.
Mm.
Like, that's a compromise. You can't just shut it down. You have to figure out how to compromise, but that's part of that open communication thing. What's acceptable? Not this is how you're going to do it, but can we talk it through? At the closer to the end of the conversation, um, they got to, like, why are people really not getting married nowadays? And it came down to the gentleman actually answering this. It wasn't the women, it was the gentlemen that were answering the question. And they said that they didn't want to get locked into something and something better come along. So it ended up being the fear of missing out on something different, something better. So, what do you guys think of that? Do you think that and a lot of times not just the men, it's the women now who are like, well, you're not gonna leave me, so there's no sense in getting attached. I think people think about marriage now. When they go into it, they don't think about. Remember, it used to be like, we're gonna be together for the rest of our lives. Like, that's your marriage vows, right? Like,
Right.
we're gonna be together through thick and thin, and goodness, and blah 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 blah. And even when we hate each other, we're gonna be married for the rest of our lives, right?
I think we need to recover these because none of those things were in our
Thick
vows,
and
babe.
thin, healthy,
Potato
not
salad, not macaroni.
fat,
Nobody likes
skinny,
macaroni.
fit, not. Those are in the marriage vows. I read them. That's the
Okay.
subsection one.
I gotta reread them. I thought they were different.
But they were saying that a lot of the reason that they don't get into being married is because what happens if you commit to somebody and somebody better comes along, and that broke my heart. Because it's like, if you commit to somebody, you commit to somebody. Like, there shouldn't be anybody better coming, and you shouldn't be putting yourself in a situation where somebody else can come along to make you think, hey, I'm not in the right place. Like, how did you even get there?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this too. Like, I think it comes down to people's insecurity at the end of the day,
Yeah.
and I feel like there's a lot of people now that question, and maybe this has always existed. I don't know, but I don't remember it when we were younger. Now I feel like people are very insecure and they're worried that they're enough, or oh, I don't do this well enough, and somebody's going to leave me. So I think that comes into it, and then I think it also changes the way people perceive other people. And what if they're not enough for me? I just think that all that stuff comes into play, and I think
It's Marriage used to be that you would just work through everything. And we've talked about this a lot. Look, we have a great marriage.
right,
But we have hills and valleys. And I mean valleys, like, we might be at the center of the earth at this point. Like, they are low lows. We've had up, like, really high highs and really low
yeah,
lows. But the one thing that was fortunate, I'm not going to say lucky, but fortunate for us is that we didn't hate each other at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I think if you hate each other at the same time, it's done. It's not worth trying anymore because you can't see beyond that hate. But if one person is like, you can be mad, but we're about to talk it through,
I know you. I'm the talker. I'm
you
the
are,
one.
because I'll silent treatment you to
I
death.
want to resolve it, and you know that, and you know that the weapon against the talker is the opposite of talking, and you do that well. And I'm the opposite of that. I'm like, nope, I'm just gonna keep talking, and she's gonna talk to me. Damn it. Is there a romanticized version of falling in love? What is falling in love? I don't know. Love is one of those really hard to describe because it's
It's different for everybody.
everybody. Yeah,
I think it's different for everybody. I think a lot of people think they're in love and they're not.
our parents told us that when we got married at 18. They're like, you think you're in love, but you're not. You can just go and do your own thing. Thanks, mom.
Yeah, Dave's mom tried to talk me out of. She was like, "You're still young. You
Yeah,
don't have to do this."
don't
I was
do
like,
that.
"What the? You don't want me to be a part of your family? Is that what we're saying?"
She's gonna watch this later. She's like, I didn't say that. And I'm
We
like,
have
"What?"
had this conversation so many times. Like, you didn't really love me, did you?
Oh god, that's funny.
Yeah, horrible.